All right, you're welcome back. It's time to take a look at the headlines at the front pages of newspapers this morning. And we're going to be doing that with the communication and leadership strategist, Dr. John. Of course, he's here with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Dr. It's nice to have you join us right now. Let's start with the Punch newspaper this morning. The bold headline there says Nigeria may repay $5.5 billion loan for 30 years. Says the federal government. Now, on the issue of getting more loans, Nigerians have been very skeptical and saying we don't need more loans. But the Minister of Finance is saying, well, we're still within the safe limit. What are the implications of this now?
Okay, the major challenge we have now with governance in Nigeria is like we are in an MMM generation, and we have this sickness of more money. And the problem we have...
Nigerians will be wondering exactly what you mean by MMM. For those who don't know.
It's actually more money mystery. and because of that, the government thinks actually that the only thing to do at this moment to move us out of the current situation is to continue to look for more money. And that's why at every point in time, we're either introducing one tax or the other, one new tax or the other, or we are going borrowing. Unfortunately, that's not the problem. More money is not going to cure the problem of Nigeria. It's more managerial ability and capacity, and we've got to develop that. So even when we have this money, there are fears here and there. And why are they fears? Because at the end of the day, you may say, oh, you're actually borrowing to safeguard our future. And at the end of the day, Nigerians are actually afraid because they don't want some of these borrowings to go into pockets of private individuals.
We know that there were borrowings in the 80s that we're still paying until today. There were borrowings in the 90s that we're still paying until today.
So the major challenge is not even the debt.
If this payment will be made for 30 years, that means your great-grandchildren might have...
exactly.
You know,
it's very serious. So
I'm still very young anyway. But,
I think, honestly, we need to get to a point where we need to discuss with the government that, okay, more money is not just going to solve our problems. It is understandable when you're thinking that, oh, you're going to pump this money into infrastructural development and all that. But again, come to think about it, you are doing this for the people, but the people are not actually enjoying it as we speak now. So who are, at the end of the day, who are going to enjoy some of this infrastructure? So we need to think out of the box and stop thinking that more money is a problem.
Okay, well, one of the headlines, one of the bold pictures on across most of the papers today, kidnapping charges. Evans makes a U-turn, pleads not guilty. At first he said, well, I was guilty to 2 charges, but now he's saying not guilty. Well,
you know,
this should be the advice of his lawyer or something. I don't know.
I'm going to relate this with what happened when this present government came on board. You know, when the APC government started in 2015, there was this issue of body language, and body language was practically fixing things. Electricity came on and everything was working. And it got to a point that people got used to the body language and everything started dropping. And this is exactly what happened. If by the time this guy was caught, if our judicial system had dealt with it like instantly, if our investigation process has been concluded within 1 week, this guy will have pleaded guilty and that will have been the end of it. But now he's used to the shame. And what happens? It's going to say, at the end of the day, the Lagos law for 2015, I'm trying to remember the criminal law of Lagos, stipulates that it's going to, if he's found guilty, he's going to spend about 21 years in prison. But the anti-kidnapping law of 2017 says that if by any chance any of your victim dies in your custody, that you are going to die. It's going to be a death sentence. Now, what are we going to prove?
There are chain reactions to this
you understand?
Because,
let's quickly move on.
Okay.
Chukwudumeje is all over the papers this morning.
That is one person that his name changes like a chameleon.
You know, like, yes, indeed. Daily Sun, FG moves to name looters, compiles list of corporates and money recovered. You really should be happy about this.
Yes, I am happy. I am happy because either we like it or not, the greatest challenge we have in Nigeria, it's not a problem. We may want to be myopic and say it's a problem of the last government. The problem we've always had is the problem of corruption over the time.
Name and shame.
If we can name people and continue to shame them, I think that's going to have a lot of effect. I don't know whether it was the process of strategy that really dragged it this late. If not, if we had started this, let's say by June 2015, for example, we'll have had effect. Because as we still speak, whether you like it or not, people are still looting.
All right, there's still other stories to look at and still looting. Still looting. 120 billion naira bribery allegation. Misau, Senator Misau, of course, he's been in the news for a while now. Yeah. He's been docked and granted 5 million naira bail. What do you think about this one? It's like the accuser has now become the accused.
Yes, it will happen in an institution or in a nation where we keep empowering some few people. Ideally, I was thinking, it's just like if you accuse me that I'm corrupt, nothing concerns my organization. Either it's mine or public. That's what I'm thinking. Though the federal government is the employer of the IG, but in my head I'm thinking, should the federal government has gone to court in the first place? Or the man should go to court and say, oh, please clear me.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering.
I remember we discussed this issue here sometime, and we mentioned it. Is it the federal government that should really go to court, or it is the IG himself who should go to court? Because the point there is, if there are allegations against anyone, like you said, it is incumbent on the person, because he is an entity by himself. Yeah. You know. Okay, let's get to this day now. We have President Buhari is in Turkey, and you can see the bold picture there. He and the President of Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey. There's been bilateral agreement here and there. What do you think about this trip to Turkey at this time?
I love this trip. I love it. You know why? Because in some corners we'll be having feelers that Turkey is somehow supporting the Biafra agitation somehow, and that has been the feelers here and there. So,
not to forget, of course, the weapons that have been coming in.
Yes, so there's the need for this visit. There's the need for bilateral discourse for us to at least know peace here. And you know that Turkey itself is a volatile region, considering the nearness to some of these ISIS territories here and there. So I think I love it's one visit that is really very great. I love it.
Okay, we still have one of the headlines there said Intel's Volpe apologizes to NPA, says company will comply with TSA policy. There has been controversies and, you know, me against you between Intel, one of the companies at the port, with NPA all this while. And even at the session at the lower house of the National Assembly, the issues came up. Exactly. Investigations are going on. And they're saying that if Intel's is cut short, a lot of people are going to be affected.
Over 7,000 people may lose their jobs.
But again, do you know, Mike, one of the reasons why we are underdeveloped is because we read political undertone to everything. And when we're supposed to take action, we're thinking this person is actually, I know there are political meanings to it. There are political undertones. I don't want to read them because I don't want us to remain underdeveloped. So, but most importantly, I think that these are some of the things that we should have discussed at the early stage of the government, not thinking that perhaps because one of the owners or the co-owner is a member of the party.
Well, like they say,
at this point in time, people are thinking, oh, is it because the man is now coming out to challenge the president and all that? Those are unnecessary.
But some will tell you it's never too late to do the right thing if it is the right thing to do. Moving on very quickly to the front page of The Nation. 17 governors plot APC chair Oyegun's removal. Of course, Oyegun has not had it too easy recently. What do you think about this one? What they're claiming is Oyegun has only been working with 7 governors.
One of the groups that in Nigeria today that you need to fear is the governors group. Either we like it or not.
The governors forum.
The governors, either they come together as one or not. I think politically they've been able to actually push themselves to a very strong limelight. And that's one of the reasons why PDP actually fell. It was because the governors became so powerful. And one of the reasons why APC stood strong till today is because of the fact that to a certain extent they've been having issues with the National Assembly is because they've always had a way of pacifying the government.
But is it a good thing for governors to be so powerful, especially where the Constitution does not even recognize?
It is not a good thing for individuals to be powerful in a political system. No, we are talking about individuals here. Because even constitutionally, there's no group like the Governors Forum. We actually caved it because of political relevance.
It's just an association.
And they became so powerful to the point of dictating what happens in the party. And this is a very bad omen. If we have 17 governors come together to say, oh, this is what exactly we're going to do for a particular...
Do you think he might survive this move?
No, I think one of the reasons why the APC is still standing strong is because they've been able to keep the executive committee together. That's one of the reasons. If you remember what happened to PDP between 1999, 1998 and 2003, I think the chairmanship position changed for about 3-4 times. And that's why the center could not hold. So it's not a good Ome for APC at this point in time.
Okay. Lagos Assembly makes Yoruba compulsory in schools. What do you think about this?
Very good move. Very, very good move. You get to, it got to a point, if you remember, Mike, that was it the Federal Ministry of Education was thinking that some of the science subjects will be taught in local dialects,
exactly.
And one of my distinct against that is that people do not even no longer understand their local dialect. They prefer English language. For example, if I ask you what is how do you pronounce phosphorus in your local dialect, you will not get to know it. So there's a need for us to.
And in school, we were taught that there's something called intuitive perception, which you can only have when you understand your mother tongue.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that. I keep asking people, in what language? I think I've asked you before.
Yeah, exactly.
In what language do you pray?
Well, I pray in English, but when I visit home with my parents, I pray in the language.
And you sometimes struggle with it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, maybe
but I think that should be a good move, right? Because growing up in a little primary school back in the days, they used to teach us Idoma language. Whether you're from Idoma or not, you grow up with that language, and it's fine. It helps you also understand your own language. It helps you understand.
Yes, indeed. But it is in this same country that we were told growing up, vernacular forbidden. English speaking or English and French speaking only. In fact, you were punished for speaking
vernacular.
We were paying at a point.
Yeah.
For speaking vernacular.
And now we're paying the price for it.
All right. Well, I think Lagos is blazing the trail again when it comes to this, and I hope that
we still have time to still, look at some of the stories. This one still from The Nation. CBN orders banks to keep database of fraudulent customers.
They do have. They do have
do
the
they
data.
already?
They do have.
But
they have an idea.
Looks like
that's not how you're going to do any business with the bank. I was discussing with a friend of mine.
With fraudulent.
Yes, that's not how you're going to carry out any fraudulent practice in the bank.
Without you succeed, it must be.
They would know. It's now another thing if they decide to actually look away from the fraud process, but that they will not know. They know, and there's no corruption incident that happened in Nigeria without perhaps somebody supporting it or conniving in the bank. So they do know.
So but maybe what the CBN needs to do first is to cleanse the banking system first.
Can you actually cleanse the banking system? Well, you cannot, because there's a conspiracy between the CBN and the banks. What are the banks living on? It is your money, illegal money that they deduct from your account. And the CBN is silent. So there's a tragic problem in the banking sector already. And the fear has always been, if we decide to cleanse it, a number of Nigerians are going to lose their job. So when we step into it to do it, we are stepping back. Because there are 3 controls we never had from the beginning. One of them is population control. We have grown beyond necessary, and our development around us is not growing. So everybody is thinking about the population. If we decide to sanitize the bank, for example, how many people will be affected? How many families? So when we want to take the step, we are thinking about the welfare of Nigerians and the consequences.
It's interesting. It's interesting you actually say that, because the IMF only recently said whatever growth Nigeria is recording so far, 1.9 or so, projected even for 2018, the population growth will totally swallow it up. Thank you.
Population growth 2.7%. That's a lot. That's huge. So by 2050, Nigeria will be the 3rd most populated country in the world after China and India.
That is within the data we can capture as a nation. They're not talking about people in my community who go back without record.
Thank you so much.
It's so interesting with you every morning. But we have to leave it here
still to come on TVC Breakfast.